Dying mother hands twins to judge, then mistress screams when fortune goes to them. Watch till the end for a twist that will warm your heart. Subscribe, comment and share to spread this inspiring story. The courtroom was silent, but outside, the world was a storm of whispers. Judge Harrison adjusted his glasses, his eyes scanning the fragile figure before him. Margaret, pale and trembling, clutched her twin infants to her chest. Her breaths came shallow, each one sounding like a countdown. She looked up at the judge with a mixture of desperation and hope. "Your Honor, I have nowhere else to turn," she whispered. "Please take them. Raise them well." The judge blinked, stunned. Never before had anyone entrusted him with such a weighty responsibility. But there was something in Margaret's eyes, an unspoken plea, that softened even the hardest parts of his heart. She collapsed into the arms of a court officer moments later, whispering one last time, "They are all I have left. Protect them." As the months passed, the twins, Lila and Lucas, grew under the judge's careful guidance. He ensured they were educated, loved, and shielded from the harsh realities of their early life. Meanwhile, across town, the household of the late Mr. Caldwell was in chaos. His mistress, Veronica, had expected to inherit everything, including the sprawling estate, luxurious cars, and the jewelry collection worth millions. She had lived in the shadow of the wealthy man for years, convinced that his death would finally cement her place at the top. But when the lawyer read the will, Veronica's face contorted with disbelief. Every penny, every property, every cherished artifact went not to her, but to the judge to safeguard the twins. "What? No, that's impossible!" she screamed, clutching the letter as if it might somehow rewrite reality. "They're just babies." The judge remained calm. "They are the rightful heirs," he said softly, "and I will ensure their inheritance is used wisely to honor their mother's love and sacrifice." Veronica's fury was almost theatrical, but it couldn't undo Margaret's final act of courage. Slowly, the twins began to flourish, not just in wealth, but in character. Leila loved to read aloud to the elderly in the community center. Lucas spent hours volunteering at the local animal shelter. People noticed their kindness, their empathy, and their unshakable courage despite their early hardship. Years later, Veronica watched helplessly as the twins, now teenagers, used their fortune to build a foundation for children in need, creating scholarships, safe homes, and opportunities for those who had nowhere else to turn. She realized too late that wealth without humanity is empty, and that love and compassion are worth far more than any fortune. Judge Harrison, meanwhile, sat quietly in his chambers, smiling as Lila and Lucas ran past him to welcome a new group of children into the Foundation's library. He remembered Margaret's final words and understood that kindness had the power to echo across generations. And in that moment, the courtroom's silent plea from years ago had blossomed into a legacy of hope, proving that sometimes the smallest act of selflessness can leave the largest mark on the world. The courtroom had long emptied, but Judge Harrison remained seated, staring at the twins playing quietly in the corner. Leila laughed as Lucas carefully stacked wooden blocks, her small hand patting his shoulder when the tower wobbled. The judge's heart swelled with a mix of pride and awe. He thought back to Margaret's final moments, the trembling hands, the fragile whisper, the trust she had placed in him. No legal document could ever capture the weight of that trust, and yet it had become the foundation of everything these children would one day accomplish. Veronica's fury had faded into bitter resentment, but it could not touch what Margaret had left behind. Lila and Lucas didn't care about her protests. They were focused on creating joy, learning and extending kindness to those around them. With each act of generosity, they unknowingly honored their mother's sacrifice. The twins had grown accustomed to the quiet strength of Judge Harrison's guidance. He never sought recognition, but he found immense satisfaction in seeing them become the kind of people who lifted others up rather than stepping on them. One afternoon, as the sun streamed through the large courtroom windows, a local journalist approached, eager to cover the story of the twins' charitable foundation. Lila looked up from organizing books for the community center's reading corner and smiled. "It's just what our mom would have wanted," she said simply. Lucas nodded, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "We just want to help people who don't have anyone to stand up for them." Judge Harrison felt a lump in his throat. He realized that Margaret's last act had set off a ripple that touched far more lives than any inheritance ever could. Wealth, yes, but more importantly, humanity. Veronica, watching from afar, could only seethe as she realized that power and possessions meant nothing compared to the legacy of compassion these children carried. Every program they funded, every life they touched, was a living testament to their mother's love and her courage in those final moments. And as twilight settled over the city, Judge Harrison watched Lila and Lucas laughing with a group of children, their eyes bright with hope and curiosity. In that simple joy, he saw the enduring proof that selflessness and kindness could shape the world far more profoundly than greed ever could. Margaret's sacrifice had not been in vain. The twins had inherited not just a fortune, but a legacy of love, empathy, and courage, one that would continue to inspire everyone fortunate enough to cross their path. And for the first time in years, Judge Harrison allowed himself a quiet smile, knowing that in the smallest acts of humanity, the greatest victories are born.